So what we're going to do today is something called an Ecomap, and it's really just an opportunity for me to hear about everybody that's involved in your life. So I begin with drawing a square in the middle and just looking at the people that live inside your house. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to start with Ethan, and Ethan is he 6 yet?
Yes, he's 6.5.
Okay, he's 6 years old. And I know now that Ethan has brothers,
Yes.
so tell me his brother's name.
His oldest brother is Carter.
Carter. And he is...
And he's 14.
Okay. And
then Aiden.
Aiden.
Is 5.
Okay. All right. And then Mom, and you're Amy, right? I don't have to know how old you are. That's fine.
That's okay.
And Ethan's dad?
Is Shannon.
Shannon, okay. Anybody else live in the house?
Just the 5 of us.
Dogs, cats, fish?
No.
No, just kidding.
Yeah, I hope not. No, okay. my husband thinks the boys need a puppy, and I said, well, when they're potty trained and won't swing them around by the tail, then we'll talk about it.
I hear you. I went through that myself in my house. Okay, so that's who lives in your house. So let's just talk about some other people. So how about family members from your side of the family?
He has both of his grandparents.
Okay, and they are, what does he call them?
He calls them grandmommy and granddaddy.
Okay. And these are your parents? Okay. How often do you guys see each other?
They live in Grantsville, so we probably see them maybe twice a month, maybe.
Okay. And how do those visits go when you see them?
They go good. They go good. We have to. It cracks me up because my oldest son, he goes, Mom, what was it like to grow up in Grandmommy and Granddaddy's house? Because when he gets to go there for the weekend, my mom just waits on him, and I was like, buddy, it's not what you experienced. but they go fine. They go fine. Okay. I think my mom was the one who babysat him when we first, and she would come to our house when we first moved up here from Virginia, and they had a really hard time accepting that there was something different with Ethan. They accepted it more because they saw it kind of unfold, but that was I think hard for them.
Okay. Is it better now?
Yeah. Yeah, it's better now.
How about Shannon's family?
He has his mom and his stepdad. They live in Florida.
Okay. So they're a little further away. And what does Ethan call them?
He calls them Grandma and Grandpa.
Okay. And how often do you guys see them?
We probably see them 2 or 3 times a year.
Okay. How about how often do you guys talk to each other?
We talk to them. I mean, my husband and his mom talk probably 2-3 times a week, and so Ethan usually chimes in, or there's something to be said with the kids. I'd probably say at least once a month.
Okay, all right, good. How about do Shannon or you have siblings?
I have 3.
3 siblings.
I have a sister and 2 brothers.
Okay, and sister is
Emily.
And your brothers?
Johnny and Jess.
Okay. And how often do you talk to them?
We probably, my sister and my youngest brother, Jess, we don't see them as often. Okay. I would say maybe once every 3 or 4 months, maybe. Okay. But my brother, Johnny, his wife is Amanda, and they have 3 kids.
Okay.
Jaden, Maggie, and Jack.
Okay.
And they're at our house usually at least once a week.
Similar ages as your guys?
Jaden is 9, and Maggie will be 4, and Jack just turned 2. So Maggie and Aiden are very close, and Ethan kind of goes along with Carter and Jaden because there's usually something about video games going on somewhere. So
okay, good. And how about Shannon? Does he have siblings?
He has a sister. Her name is Shay.
How do you spell that?
Shay.
My maiden name is Shay, but
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Shea, and so I was, okay, and how often does he?
We probably see them about once every 2 years. They live in Florida too.
Okay. And is she married with children as well?
Yeah, she has 2 boys, Zach and Brennan,
Okay.
and they're 18 and 16.
Okay, so they're older. So you don't see them
We don't
as
get to
often.
see
Do you
them as
talk to
often.
them? Or
Yeah,
just,
when we communicate a lot through email or Facebook,
Yeah.
you know, that type of thing.
Okay, so if you think, any other significant family members out there?
Oh, my grandmother, my mom's mom.
Okay.
They call her the same thing as we did, which is Mamaw.
Okay.
Mamaw and Papaw.
Okay. And are they local as well?
They live in Grantsville.
Okay. Do
Yeah.
you see?
We see them, I would say, probably at least once every 2 months.
Okay. So then if you think about your circle of influence kind of expanding, so you work outside the home,
Well, actually, I work from home.
you
so-
work from home, okay? Because I want to distinguish between, I know you work in the home, but
Right.
you do extended work,
Yes.
your nursing work
Yes.
from your home. So,
And then, well, I also do school nursing at a private Christian school.
okay. So this is your work. Anybody significant from work that you like hang out with or see on a regular basis? Okay, because you're working from
Yeah,
your
not
house,
really,
right?
yeah.
Okay. And how about Shannon?
He's a private voice and piano teacher.
Okay. And is he out and about in the community? Anybody significant in his life that also touches your family's life from his work?
Not work-wise, I
Okay.
would say.
So how about friends?
Usually, well, we have a lot of people from church.
Okay. So anyone specific or just
Trying to think who comes to our house. We have probably 2 or 3 couples
Okay.
that.
so they're mutual friends of yours? Okay. And do you do things as couples and families or do
Well,
you,
usually it's like as families, because usually it works best if people come to us, and that just makes it easier if we host things, because then Ethan's comfortable
Right.
with where we are, and
Okay.
he knows he can go away if if
Okay.
it gets too much.
All right. Okay, good.
And plus, we know he's safe.
Right.
We know
Right.
how the doors lock, and
Okay. Okay, so that's family time. Okay, so anybody else in terms of, neighbors and friends that stick out to you as people that you see on a regular basis or have contact with on a regular basis?
not consistently, I would say.
You mentioned that Ethan goes to Kennedy Krieger, right? And is there one doctor that you see there?
Yeah, Dr. Menon.
Dr. Mellon, okay. And I assume you have a pediatrician as well. And,
Dr. Levitas at CMG.
what is his name? I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Levitas. It's Levitas.
Okay.
And when he's not available, we see Dr. Wick.
Okay. And when you think about your medical care or that kind of, are there any other doctors that you might see on a regular basis for Ethan? I would say.
We have a nurse practitioner that she kind of fills the gap between Kennedy Krieger and here,
Okay.
as far as his ADHD medication and medicine that helps him sleep.
Okay.
More autism type related things.
Okay. How are your relationships with all of these guys?
Good.
Can you talk freely to
Oh,
them?
yes.
Do you feel like
Our nurse practitioner, we're probably the closest to, because she's one of our friends. So we've known her a very long time, and his pediatricians we see. Often, I guess, at least every couple of months or
Okay.
something like that. And Dr. Menon is good as well. We just don't see her as often.
Right. Any other, if you think about that type of care, any other, I would kind of look at them as formal supports that are out there for you guys?
Not including his school.
Thank you for saying the school. Okay, so that's West Side.
Mm-hmm.
And tell me a little bit about who's your primary contact there?
Well, I would say Mrs. Brown, who's his teacher.
Okay.
That's his kindergarten teacher.
Okay. And we know that's going to change next year. So, is that your anticipation that the?
I would hope so.
Yeah.
That would be my hope. Yeah.
So when I hear you talk about that, I know that Mrs. Brown is the kindergarten teacher. How about the special educators that work with Ethan?
Well, his aide that he has daily is Mrs. Wilson, and he loves her. And then he gets speech, OT, and PT. And I don't know. I know them to see them, but other than his physical therapist who came with him from Cache Valley, I really don't know the two speech and occupational therapists too much, other than to see them in a meeting or something.
Okay. That's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Well,
in this world of
That was the hardest thing because he had early intervention and he had home speech therapy and PT and OT all in our house. And so because I worked from home, I would just block that time off when they were going to be there, and I would be up there with them. And so I would get to watch and see that. And I think that was the hardest thing when he went to pre-K, and I was like, oh, I don't really know what's going on. I don't know every day. I need to know every day.
Yeah, I think a lot of families say that when they transition from Part C to Part B services, home visiting to school base, it's all of a sudden like a lifeline has been cut from.
Yeah,
from
and I mean, those people for that time we still keep in contact with his speech therapist, and he had her for 2.5 years. Because I still say he talks today because of her. I mean, she was just fantastic with him. But
that's
yeah,
neat. That's neat. Wow. So I'm glad you mentioned the school, and I say that because sometimes when I ask that question, families don't even think about the school. So I love that you thought about the school.
And we also have Dr. Stewart, the principal.
Yes.
And Jason Behringer, the vice principal.
Okay.
And then Susan, who's the nurse at the school.
Okay.
I actually graduated from nursing school with Susan, so. And my husband grew up with Jason Behringer, so we've got connections all over the place.
There too.
Yeah.
That's great. So, so we looked at family, we looked at friends, we looked at those formal supports that are kind of centered around Ethan and who he is. Is there anybody else that, and in this day and age of internet, like Facebook and email, that just anybody that you still consider someone in your circle, in your close circle?
I mean, there would be other family members that we can mainly communicate that way, but Ethan doesn't necessarily know who they are.
So you just have other family members, such as cousins, and okay. So we don't have to know all of their names because they probably wouldn't fit on the paper. So if you look at this, does this give a pretty good picture of the people that are primary in your life and in Ethan's life in terms of people that you see on a regular basis?
Yeah, I would say.
So if you had good news to share or bad news to share, who would be the first person you would contact?
The first person? Well, what kind of good or bad news is it?
Anything.
I mean, other than my husband, it would probably be. Well, it depends on what it is. I'd probably tell my friends first. And then the nurse practitioner would be second in line. Because she's kind of already in that first circle. But, And then we would likely share it with his teacher, just depending on if it was going to affect his behavior.
Okay,
Then
okay.
that would be a definite.
Alrighty. So
Our parents would find out eventually, but that's probably not that day.
I won't tell your mother, okay?
Yeah.